From Washington, D.C. to the heart of America, welcome to Mark Alford's America. I'm freshman Congressman from Missouri, Mark Alford, and I believe in America. I believe in you. And most importantly, I believe our greatest days are still ahead. You know, each week we take you behind the scenes to share the stories, legislation, the news of the day, and we also meet the people helping shape our great state and our great nation. Today, we're in the district. We're at City Hall in Sedalia. You know, Sedalia is known for its rich history. Of course, we have the state fair here, but there's much more than that. They have a strong community spirit and, of course, the home of the state fair. And leading this community is Mayor Andrew Dawson. His leadership's been crucial in fostering economic development here, and boy, do they have economic development. I've been to a lot of the businesses. You wouldn't believe what's going on here. Improving the infrastructure and making sure Sedalia remains a great place to live, work, and raise a family. In fact, we recently worked directly with Mayor Dawson to host a fentanyl forum on May 13th at his request. This forum, as if you've been following along, is really part of our larger initiative to bring awareness to the fentanyl crisis in Missouri and in America. If this president is not going to close the border and keep fentanyl from coming across into our great nation, we've got to do something about it on the local level. And Sedalia, because of this forum, is now doing something about it. Joining him is Chief David Woolery, the Chief of Police in Sedalia. Chief Woolery has been instrumental in maintaining the safety and order here. And we're also joined by Prosecuting Attorney Todd Smith, who's dealt a lot with the fentanyl issue here in Pettis County. Please welcome Mayor Andrew Dawson, Chief David Woolery, and Prosecuting Attorney Todd Smith. Good to have you guys with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's
Great to be here.
You know, we were at this fentanyl forum, and Chief, I'm going to start with you. We were at the fentanyl forum back in May. It seems like just yesterday, and we heard some disturbing facts about the toll that fentanyl is having here in Pettis County and in Sedalia in particular. Please share some of that with us.
Yes, we did. It was a good meeting, and it was a good forum, and it was good input from some of the people who have directly suffered in our community. Fentanyl became prevalent in our community a couple of years ago, and we've had to make a lot of adjustments within the police department and our community to deal with this problem. We have a lot of overdoses from fentanyl, causing all of our officers to be Narcan certified. We carry Narcan everywhere we go on patrol. We definitely have to have Narcan when we do search warrants because it's very easy for an officer to succumb to that as well. We have an investigative team directly focused on fentanyl and the effects of fentanyl with our crime resolution unit. They work all narcotics, but fentanyl is a large focus that we have. We investigate for involuntary homicide or manslaughter, any fentanyl overdose. If we can track down who the dealer is, that's something that we pursue on every case. Those are hard cases to make, very hard cases to make, but we've actually been successful in doing that.
Todd, one of the problems that you brought up is the tools. The tools just weren't there to prosecute some of these cases. Tell us about that and what improvements are on the horizon.
So the city of Sedalia wanted to take a stance in an effort to make Sedalia an unattractive marketplace for this particular drug. Make no mistake, drug dealers are in it to make money. It's business. And one of the things that we frequently encounter, it doesn't happen every day, but someone will be arrested and charged with a serious felony of drug trafficking, but very quickly get back on the street awaiting prosecution of their state charges. There are various reasons for that, but it can take months and months and months. And very frequently, the dealer will have posted bond, they'll have private counsel, and they can continue to pilfer their terrible poison in our community. At Mayor Dawson's suggestion, we have devised a city ordinance which seems silly to combat fentanyl. We're not going to get in the way of the state felony prosecution. These defendants are still on the hook for that, but we intend to furtherly prosecute them in the city system, much faster, much more efficient for the paraphernalia, and in particular, impose a mandatory sentence of 90 days in jail, which is the maximum allowed for municipal offense. So instead of them being out and about for 6 months, continuing their business activities, they can take a time out in our jail. And during that time, it'll be disastrous for their business. And the hope would be fentanyl dealers like, I'll go somewhere else. Sedalia is no good. I'm going to wind up spending 90 days in jail. My business will collapse. I'll lose customers. I'll lose resources. I'll have to spend money. And just the very fact of being stuck in jail all that time. So it's a novel thing. This is something we've come up that's original, and we're hoping to give it a try and dissuade folk from engaging in this activity here in Sedalia.
Mayor, where does this stand now?
What's that?
Where does the law stand now? The ordinance, has this passed?
Oh, the ordinance has been passed. That passed at the last council meeting unanimously. And so that's been signed into law. Susie Howe, which is a parent that was affected by fentanyl, she came down and we did a little signing presentation where we signed that and got it signed into law. So that's in law. But now I do want to stress that we want to go with the implementation of this slowly. That way we make sure that we're not having any effects on the state charges, because we want those to remain intact, because, those are the most important to carry the most weight. So we want to, with the implementation, we want to go slowly.
How could this interfere with the state charges?
It shouldn't. There's case law backing that up, but we just want to, like I said, make sure all our bases are covered.
I might follow up on that. The first time we use it, and we're looking for very specific circumstance, somebody with a bad criminal history who's been caught red-handed with fentanyl, they have the scale and the baggies and the money. No question this person, not just an addict, they're selling. That first defendant will raise a number of legal challenges, and we expect that. That test case, the first time around, we want to be absolutely ready to defend every element of this. And ideally, if we're successful, word will get around quick. If we survive and are successful in that first test case, no one will bother before. Once we can demonstrate, for example, our ordinance uses the Nartec laser tester. You shoot the laser, you immediately know it's fentanyl. We don't have to go to the crime lab and wait months for that test. They're going to attack that. I'm confident we can defend that provision.
Like a defense attorney would on a breathalyzer test for DUI.
Exactly. And they're entitled to. And I make no bones about it. That first time around, they're going to file defensive motions trying to argue that this laser tester is not accurate or shouldn't be admissible. We're going to meet that head on. But before we have that fight, we want to be absolutely sure the judges, the law enforcement community, the prosecuting community, everybody's on board. So we're being deliberative and slow. Because once we have that perfect case, everything is lined up, the planets are in alignment, we win these fights, word will get around. Don't even bother trying to attack the test result. Don't bother trying to claim that this ordinance is unconstitutional. It's been tried and they failed. What we're looking for is people to more quickly understand, you get hit with this, next month you're in jail, not a year from now.
So the idea is to push people out of Sedalia that are dealing fentanyl.
And truly be very disruptive towards their business model. That 90-day timeout, the things are happening while they're incarcerated. They're getting evicted from whatever property they're renting. Their customer base is walking away. There's intelligence gathering that can happen while they're in the jail. So I think it'll be a good thing.
Tell me about this laser that detects fentanyl. I didn't know this existed.
So it's a wonderful little gadget about the size of a cell phone, and you shoot a laser, and it can perform a chemical analysis in a matter of seconds. And it can tell you, for example, if it's fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine. It can also tell you if it's sugar or salt. One of the most useful things about the device is it can shoot through plastic. Fentanyl is subcutaneously absorbable, which means if you rub it on your finger, it can get into your bloodstream. It's one of the reasons it's so scary. Officers do not have to take it out of the bag or the pill bottle. They can just shoot it. In a school, there's a suggestion that a youngster has serious drugs. You can find out if it's a Tic Tac or an OxyContin. The problem is this device is extremely expensive. A few years back, I was working with the Drug Task Force. We had to borrow one from the National Guard. These cost as much as cars. They're extremely handy and useful. The day will come when they will become as ubiquitous as breathalyzers. But today, they're super duper expensive. The Sedalia Police Department happens to have their own, and it just makes things so much faster. We save one life, stop one pill from coming to Sedalia. It's worth the effort.
Chief, when did you guys buy this device?
We've had the TruNarc for a little over a year. Now, we actually bought it with opioid money, and I think it was around $30,000.
What does that mean?
Opioid money is money that we get from
the opioid settlement.
Settlement with pharmaceuticals.
So
settlement with the pharmaceutical companies. You use that money. And how much do these cost?
This was a little over $30,000.
$30,000. Wow.
Yep. And like Todd said, it's a small unit, self-contained unit, but it is very effective. And as indicated, the officers don't actually have to unpackage the drugs to test those. They can test it right through the bag. And another great thing about this ordinance is, the way this typically works on a drug charge, if we arrest somebody for possession of fentanyl, then for the state court to kick in, it could take up to a year easily. But we also have to send that fentanyl to the Missouri State Highway Patrol Lab to get tested. you're easily looking at 9 months to a year just to get those results back. So we'll have results immediately through the TruNarc system and know that it's tested positive for fentanyl. And if that holds up, or when that holds up, then we'll be able to use that information for next available court date in city court and get him in jail for 3 months.
Folks, a fascinating discussion here of fentanyl and Sedalia and what this Pettis County town, the county seat, actually, Sedalia, is doing to fight fentanyl. This all came about after our fentanyl forum, one of the many that we've done all around the state, will continue to do as long as I'm in Congress, bringing awareness of the fentanyl crisis in America. You're listening to Mark Alford's America. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Mayor Dawson, Chief Woolery, and the prosecuting attorney, Todd Smith. Some of the great things that are going on in Missouri, in Sedalia as well. We're going to talk about that. The state fair is wrapping up. If you didn't get a chance to come to the state fair, but Sedalia is known much more than for just the state fair. Stay with us. You're listening to Mark Alford's America. Welcome back to Mark Alford's America, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look and let you meet some of the folks helping shape our great nation and our great state and the great town of Sedalia, Missouri. In this case, we're in the 4th Congressional District. Sedalia, of course, home to the state fair. We were just here last week. They're going to have a new arena named after Governor Mike Parson there at the state fair. We were at the groundbreaking for that. But now we're talking about a groundbreaking incentive on the part of the police department and the prosecutor here when it comes to fentanyl, cracking down on fentanyl. Mayor Dawson, how did this initiative start to begin with?
So this started back, it was probably around the same time last year. Susie Howe reached out to me. She had lost her son, Jacob, to fentanyl. If I remember right, there were 3 counterfeit pills that he had traded out for a ride in his pickup. He took them and then ended up overdosing and dying. But she reached out to me as well as some other parents that had been affected by this. We met at their home. And one of the things she wanted to do, she had heard about the fentanyl forum you'd done in Belton, was inspired by that. She wanted to do one of those here in Sedalia. That was something that we could get done. So we worked throughout the fall and the winter, pulled that together back in May, and were able to make that happen for her. And then afterwards, myself and Assistant Prosecutor Smith, we were sitting and we were thinking, how can we help address this on a local level? How can we enter the fight and help do something, right? And that's kind of where we came up with that idea to go ahead and make this municipal fentanyl paraphernalia ordinance, bring that to fruition.
They tried this some years back with marijuana paraphernalia, didn't they? I mean, back when I was a kid, and marijuana was the biggest thing that you could get in trouble for. I mean, there were a few kids doing LSD and that sort of thing, but they tried to crack down on paraphernalia.
So Missouri is an unlawful paraphernalia ordinance that any controlled substance that is injected, smoked, packed, or prepared, you can be charged with this. And so prior to the passage of Amendment 3, under certain circumstances, that would apply here. And that was rarely done in candor. And again, this might strike someone at first blush like this is crazy. You're going after fentanyl dealers with a paraphernalia charge, and in city court, it sounds like a very trivial thing, but it's not. We believe that it can have a meaningful impact. We acknowledge that it's an experiment. This is a novel approach. No one's ever tried doing this, and we want to take our time, but it's worth the effort. And I'm glad the city had the strength to, stick its neck out. We're going to try and do this. There may be some legal costs. There may be litigation, but we believe the cause is just and the reward is worth it.
I've kind of kicked that around in my head too, as far as that. And I think the difference here is this is a drug where if it's just out laying around and you touch it, it gets absorbed through the skin and can kill you. That presents a huge risk to public safety, in my opinion.
Fentanyl is probably about as far away from marijuana on the narcotics scale as you can get. Yeah. So it is extremely deadly, and it can be very deadly quick.
What are some of the cases you've seen out there, Chief Woolery?
No, we've had a lot. Like I said, we carry Narcan. We've had many cases that, you'll respond to someone's house, it stops their breathing, and, it's opioid based, and they'll stop breathing. We'll administer Narcan to them. It's not uncommon for them to come awake, become combative, and kick us out of their house. I mean, we could probably arrest them for possession of drugs, but being in jail isn't what they need at that point. They really need treatment. They need medical treatment. We've had one officer administered Narcan to 3 different people in one day. And I mean, that's an outlier. That doesn't happen often, but it has been that frequent.
And this puts the officer at risk too, their health and safety.
Absolutely, yes, it does. And when we go on search warrants, especially if it's a narcotic search warrant, if we even suspect that fentanyl might be there, then I mean that's part of what we have a special response team. That's part of their checklist of making sure that every officer has that on deck and that they've got it for another officer if they need it.
One thing in particular about the paraphernalia, we're not interested in targeting addicts here. Those folks need help. I'm interested in the dealer who gets caught with a digital scale and 100 baggies and a big wad of cash. That's not a user. That's not an addict. That's somebody who's selling the poison. That's the folks we want to use this against.
Yeah, something that I learned at your fentanyl forum that struck me, and I think it speaks to how dangerous this drug is that at the hospital they were talking about how they would administer Narcan to bring someone out of overdose. And because of the half-life of that Narcan is shorter than the half-life of the fentanyl, they would actually go back into overdose while they were in the hospital and have to have that Narcan re-administered. That was just shocking to me.
Want to change gears just a little bit. For most people coming from Overland Park or Kansas City, they drive through Sedalia on the way to the lake, and they never come downtown to the beautiful historical district. Maybe they've been to the state fair, or like we did when my kids were growing up, come to show horses here. There's something special about Sedalia. You don't really feel that, though, until you get off the highway and come downtown and meet the great folks here.
Yeah, it is. We have a beautiful downtown. It's the heart of Sedalia. I encourage everybody to get out and take a look at it. They've done a great job with historic preservation and keeping these buildings maintained and still standing.
In fact, you have some incredible industry here. Business that makes ammunition, Starline. You've got Maxon Wheels that builds a lot of custom wheels for vehicles that's sold all over the United States of America. Duke Manufacturing that manufactures all type of kitchen and restaurant equipment, stainless steel equipment. It's growing, the businesses here. How are you doing that?
Just through economic development. We always like to say Sedalia is open for business, so we are open for business.
I like that.
It is a phenomenal community. I was born and raised here, and I have every intention of dying in Sedalia. I've been blessed.
Not anytime soon.
No, hopefully not soon. I've been blessed to travel all over the country, and I've been to some phenomenal places, and everybody always wants to go home. But it definitely makes me appreciate where I was raised and where I live. People consider Missouri a flyover state. Well, if you do, keep flying over because it's an incredible state. It's my favorite.
Tyson is also here. We've toured their facility here. One of the things I keep hearing from people, though, wanting to locate their businesses here is workforce. So how do you bring more people in to have the workforce necessary and the housing necessary? That's always a big issue with housing prices the way they are. How's the housing inventory, and how do you get workforce in there?
Housing, something that we've certainly been working on. We've got a 353 Redevelopment Corporation we've been getting off the ground to offer some incentives to improve our housing stock. Also, we have a new development going into the southwest of town that we're currently running water and sewer out to, but that is, and I think that's a problem everywhere as far as housing, trying to improve that and make more of it.
In fact, I saw some new apartments that went up last year over by the State Fair.
Yep, we have some new multifamily going up around the town. So.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. This is such an important topic, the fentanyl discussion in America. We are pledging to continue these fentanyl forums. I think we've done 4 now. We have more that people wanting us to come to their towns, and not just in the 4th Congressional District. Our idea, we have Patty DePardo-Livergood, who's put this program together in our office, and we want to make it to where every Congress member can replicate this and do it in their district. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent. It doesn't matter. This is a crisis that's facing America, and we've got to get a handle on it before, one of the things that I learned is that one pill can kill. And if we can get that message across, and the important message of having Narcan in your home and in your car and in your place of business, some people might think that, hey, if I have Narcan, then that means our family is involved in drugs. That is not the case. As I've said in the Fentanyl Forum, just because you have a fire extinguisher on your wall, under your sink, doesn't mean you're an arsonist. It means you're prepared. And I thank you for working so hard on this new ordinance, which is hopefully going to save lives in Sedalia.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much for drawing attention to our cause.
Well, thank you for joining us for Mark Alford's America. We'll talk again next week. Until then, remember, I believe in you. I believe that our best days are still ahead of us. And guys, I believe in America.